All right, now let's take a look at commas and clauses once again, but we're going to go over a very important rule. When you start a sentence with a dependent clause, put a comma after the dependent clause. Once again, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words with a subject-verb relationship. Some clauses are independent because they can make complete sense, like Bill ran to the store. That's a clause. It's also a complete sentence. But if I said, when Bill ran to the store, I still have a clause because I have Bill and ran, subject and verb, but now it's a dependent clause. It's waiting to be completed by an independent clause. So whenever you begin a sentence with a dependent clause, a clause that's relying on another clause to complete its meaning, always put a comma after that dependent clause. Let's take a look at an example. When Oliver realized that the group he had joined was a gang of thieves, he became upset and ran away. Notice my dependent clause. When Oliver realized that the group he had joined was a gang of thieves, and I put it in bold for you. That is not a complete thought, but it is a clause because it has a subject, Oliver, and a verb, realized. But it requires this independent clause. He became upset and ran away to complete its meaning. So should there be a comma here? Well, here's the hint. Is the clause in bold a dependent clause or an independent clause? We've already said it's a dependent clause. And therefore, if it is a dependent clause, then there should be a comma there. If not, no comma should be there. So always check to see if you're beginning your sentence with a dependent clause. Hey, let's put a comma right after that dependent clause, okay? To make our sentence grammatically correct. Let's take a look at this second one. If you cannot take me at my worst, you do not deserve me at my best. Should there be a comma here after the word worst? Well, let's ask ourselves a question. Is this group of words in bold an independent or a dependent clause? If it is an independent clause, it should stand by itself, and you cannot put a comma between two independent clauses. But let's take a look at it. If you cannot take me at my worst, what? You see, it needs completion. It is a dependent clause. It has a subject, you, a verb, take, okay, or cannot take as a verb phrase, but it still needs completion. And so, because I'm beginning my sentence with this dependent clause, which is quite popular in writing, I'm going to put a comma where that dependent clause ends and the independent clause begins. Well, let's practice some more of this until you become fluent in placing commas at the end of dependent clauses when they begin sentences.